hello friend, and here we are with the version number 3000. Now, okay, so the other day I posted a picture with a new version that I think it's very good now because there is more stride decks and I don't know. Honestly, I think it has a bigger potential of just having easier and fast games. The other version was good and was cool versus Levitras, but like often enough, like I found out it took me 3000 years to finish the game. Eventually I would win the game, but like it's not affordable. Like you cannot play 10 30-minute games in one day. You are going to die of exhaustion. And I don't know, I really like that one, and I'm going to explain how to play it. Also, like, I think the reason I didn't find this sooner, it's because somehow I didn't understand that I could cut the Forvidal if I was running 7 Zorgas, okay? And when I tried this, I don't know, it was really good, and then, like, I don't wanna go back anymore. So let's explain it, okay? We have the obvious things. We know fishing lets us not play Philander, and this meta we don't want to, like, we want to reach our tempo mid-game or 4 attacks mid-game without committing cards from hand. If we can avoid to, Nadir can create a lot of cards into the board, and we have a lot of time to comfortably call our boosters if we need that. So we don't just want to call the rushy cards. Rush can work, and by the way, there is one guy who topped this weekend on Zole with Nagro Zorga. I haven't seen the list, otherwise I would post it here somehow, but I guess it will take a bit more for Vanguard Paradox to have the list, so I might make a video on it, like talking about it when I have the list, but I don't have it yet, so I can't. But basically, yeah, fishing is good because we can like access our top deck cards without having to call the Philander. That's what we are going to avoid. This is worse versus Stray decks, but I think that like it's overall good enough already versus them. Like Nightros has a very bad turn 3 with Obadiah, you have plenty of time to farm the PGs. Like Nightros doesn't realistically kill you, and it's similar for Nui because we can get to game them. And then we have ladder in this version, so technically with this version you can beat any stray deck even if you are not running the Philander Rancor aggro engine. Okay, then we have 3 Nadirs and 4 Zorga Masques. The idea here it's like it's like the opposite from the other one. It's like here you're trying, oops, we forgot one Nadir below. So the idea it's like quite the opposite. You want to play a regular Zorga Mask deck, not a Nadir one, and so you are slightly less tanky because you don't have the shooters. We are not running the blitz order here, but because we have a better time at finishing the game, we also need less defense, so it's still fine. And like I think the way to play Zorga is combining both. I have been thinking this for 1 year. The only problem I had is like the meta kept changing. Like we have been on a very fast creep season. Like you had one meta 1 week, next week it's different because there is a new deck, that deck's slow, but then you cannot be sure the aggro deck is still not there, so it was complex, it was complicated. But I always have thought that combining both cards was the better way of playing that. And like just like David Russ puts an OG into Soul to generate 3 cards, you write that, generate 2 cards, it can be 2 PGs, it can be a PG and a booster, it can be PG and Shadow, it can be PG Zorga. This Nadir EV2 generates 2 cards from your drop zone, okay? Like, well, let's say the combining both generates from 2 to 3 cards. I will explain this later, every turn. And it's for free because you get 2 souls per turn, so the bounces are free when you do that, okay? This guy can bind one of those guys every turn, so it's a 1 card, it can be an order, it can be a bounce target. The idea is like you combine both to generate the right amount of cards every turn, okay? Because those guys can call 3 cards by themselves, you don't need to call as much cards from your drop with your orders, you can focus on use orders that game drives, and that's strong. You will draw a lot, like your Alchemy Magic turns into Pot of Greed every turn because you can draw 2 cards out of it every turn, and then you also generate 3 cards somehow with those guys combining themselves. That's the idea of the deck, and I think that's strong as fuck. And I'm just sad I couldn't like realize faster, because like I was so focused on countering the meta every time that I didn't see that there was an easy streamlined way of being stronger than them. And like if you ask me now, I think this is the best deck you can play. Like literally, I'm not even coping. And we can argue, like, I don't know, I have been playing Nitros a lot, and there is literally nothing Nitros does that this deck cannot do better. Like literally. You have like a better PG farming engine, you can farm 2 PGs every turn, and that PGs are not there on your board to die, even if you can kneel 3. You have like the same push Nitros have, like let's say you get into the final Nitros turn. That turn 6, it's the first turn that's stronger than this deck. The rest of the turns you play that and you're stronger at every single point. We will come back to this later, and I will explain some of the combinations you can do with the offers, okay? But I also like the deck just became so fun to play. You have a lot of options. Like Nadir, it's a way to farm cards to hand, but it's also a way to create board versus removals, and like you keep scaling. It's like the same way Amnesty flips 2 strides per turn to gain more power, or Obadiah does. You can buy one order with this, one order with that, and then when you call the boosters, they are massive. It's like having a crest. Zorga has everything now. Then we have the 4 PDs, we have the 4 Shadow Cloaks, we have the 4 PGs. And then, because we are playing regular Mask, we want to keep our engine, like our 4th battle engine with that. This is basically Zorga Mask. We just changed the Philanders because we have moved the Philander to the right deck with the fishing. And we add the farming green engine mid-game with the Zorga Nadirs. That's the last change we are making. And the final card, it can be a 10th order. We have 9, we have this unit, okay? This is good because you can find the missing Zorga, you can find the mask. The card itself, like, it's very easy to, like, if we find a new card next set, this is probably living. But still, I think it's the best card you can run in the slot because it helps you find the mask. But we will talk about this later as well. And then for the orders, we have 2 masks and 2 of those. Okay, the mask has to be a 2. If you can, as always, not having to find the mask and you can find another one of, that's better. So running 2 makes your plays consistent. Then you want 2 of these because you need to find the Shadow Cloak fast. And this is a very good card to use turn 2. Turn 2, like the best card to be using turn 2 is Sweets, I think. But when you're missing the Shadow Cloak, you have to find 1 Shadow Cloak, and this card is what helps you find that, then it helps you find the other guys as well. This is not like super important anymore, like you can play the game without doing 4 battles. Like if you start doing 4 battles turn 4, you are okay. If you go first, you don't do 4 battles because it's too exhausting on cards, so you don't want to exhaust resources too fast. So yeah, those 2 are good as 2 offs, and then we have 5 1-offs. So, as I said, if you realize, like, it's not like as call from drop heavy as before, it's more like you can do a lot of combinations that will draw you 2 cards every turn. It's like an Autogaste or like Nitros with the double bone they do. That's the idea. Your Alchemy Magic is drawing cards now. And not only drawing cards, but also generating drive check consistency with those 2 cards. Those 2 cards are amazing because like if you can thin your deck with these and other cards and then you can accelerate by drawing, like I find out that if you draw this combination, you are very likely to have good things happen to you. You are getting drives, you are drawing cards, you're accelerating the cards, so it's easier for you to see the thingy. Another point here, it's the way the deck is played. You are not a rush deck anymore, that's bad now. Decks are, well, it's not bad now. It's like if you are playing an aggro deck, you should be doing that, of course, but like for Zorga, it's not as good going aggro as before. It's better to like play to open up your heals, having the resources to play the sweets, the draw cards. You want to capitalize on your heals a lot, so you don't want to over push. Okay, actually, when you go first, you don't mask up anymore, almost never, because it's risky. And like you will try to use sweets turn 3. Turn 3 you want to do like something into sweets, because this card is like an Autogaste. It creates like cards in your hand, it creates favorable variants. Maybe you heal, maybe you get crits without investing anything, or that. Like my preferred, like it depends on the matchup, of course. Sometimes you have to keep that, but if you can do like those 2 turn 3, ladder into sweets, then this gets bound next turn, or like gather up into sweets, or like Malice into Suites, that's good. You want to draw cards, draw cards. If you can draw more cards, it's better because you will see that you have other plays that will create the bounce targets. The sooner on the game, the more you want to Nadir to. You don't use it for the power on the boosters, you use it to create cards to bounce for free, and early in the game you usually have the 2 boosters set already, and they are there, and once you have like Cow, Shadow Cow, back row, then Nadir cards calls a PG, and second Shadow Cloak, and then for example, I don't know, because sometimes, like for example, let's say you have 1 Shadow Cloak and 1 Cow. You can, for example, Nadir into Shadow PG, you have another Shadow Cloak, then you mask up, then you bind the Nadir and call the second PG, then you do the double bounce, and then you call the Cow on the free slot, for example. There's a lot of ways of doing that. And this turn, for example, let's say you used Gather Upon Me into Ladder. Okay, so you put 2 PGs into your hand, because you have ways to create the orders in your hand to pay for that, or you can even, like, turns ahead, bind that to put an order. So you have ways of drawing 2 cards per turn with your Alchemagic, and then you can always put 2 cards into your hand with the bounces. There is a lot of combinations you can do. You can, for example, like you can use Nadir for 2 boosters, you can use Nadir for 1 booster and 1 Shadow Cloak or 1 bounce target, you can use Nadir for the 2 bounce targets, you can use Nadir for Pishy Shadow Cloak, and then you use Freeze for the second bounce target, you draw 1 less, but that's fine, then you ride up, and then that turn you use the mask to add an order to your hand for the next turn. There is a lot of combinations to do, and like maybe, I don't know, like honestly, I think this deck alone, it's like guide worthy. Like you could be like 1 hour talking about combinations and different plays you can do, and it's like amazing. Like it's amazing, you can do everything. And this, I'm sad because like, people think I'm coping, you know, but like this deck has nothing to envy from anybody in the game. And like this year, like I legit understood, there's no way, like as long as they keep like updating it with 1 card, like for example this season it was Nadir, like as long as it gets like a tiny little upgrade, the deck is so versatile that there is no way this deck is not going to be one of the very best ever, forever. Like let's say Babs, for example, it's very good now, right? Because it counters Levidras, because it does a lot of things, but like you already have a way to counter that with this deck. You just go slower, you don't kill as much, you just focus on having a lot of PGs, and you outgreen them and they die. Right? I don't know, I think that deck is so versatile, like you can choose to draw 2, you can choose to call 2, you can plus a lot, as long as they keep like the upgrades just enough, like you have so many ways of doing everything, like I don't know, I love it. If you want, because I have talked about some of the combos, like another good thing is like you can like do the mini Impolio Divine Skill with those 2 cards. Yeah, let's talk, because I have been asked this a lot. You want some of the orders on your bind zone and some orders in your drop hand, because like it depends. Now you can choose to Alchemagic first or bind another for the Chibi for bind acceleration and use the drive checks. To gain the drive checks, you need to mask up first. So the drive checks have an extra cost, that is having to bind an extra order, so be careful with that. But like to make an easy guideline, switch turn 3 always as the bound card, and like it depends, right? Because if you are going to use Nadir, for example, if you go first, you want mask up, so you will bind the switch and use something into switch. And if you want to mask up, like you need 3 CB, because you're going to just do it, it's strong. And then you need to bind another card like this one and keep this in your drop zone. If you see, like this needs 4 orders in total, like so you need to be wary if you can do the plays or not. You need to learn what you need at every times and where do you need the cards to be in order to enable the plays, because doing that requires 4 orders, because it's 1 that gets bound, 1 that you will bind for Alchemagic, the mask, and an order in hand, 4 orders. You need to see how many resources you have, and like you cannot be like doing this every turn because you will run out. But like you want to bind this turn 3 and use it. This is good when your opponent is at 4 damage because the crit matters, or if you need to heal. And if you are like being over pushed, you want to do that, you can only do that once, and you can only do it by masking first and binding one of this one from the drop zone, okay? So you have one shot at that play. And you should be doing it if you need like a lot of sacking because they have sacked you and you need to accelerate. Like if you do that, it's like not exactly the same, but it's like drive 5. It's like impulse the divine skill because you draw one, maybe that card is not the trigger, then you look at the next, if it's not the trigger you mill it, and then you have triple drive, okay? So if when you do that, you should expect luck to happen in your favor, okay? Then this card, you don't want to bind it because you need it. Like you can bind it, but you will have it in drop. If you bind it, it's because it was in drop and gets bound with that. Then the ladder, very good turn 3, and very good if you need to survive 2 removals. But yeah, you want to use like maybe a combination of those 3 turn 3, unless sometimes you are missing a piece, okay? If you are missing a piece, then you want to focus more on those. Then you will try to, if you have everything, the pieces are there, those 3, or like maybe these if you need to kill something. If you are missing the pieces, then those not are the place. You are going to use mask with this with that. I barely ever use this with that anymore. I wanted to do that when the deck was aggro focused, but now I want to draw, and if I don't have the 4 attack, I don't fucking care. I do not F-U-C-K-I-N-G care, okay? And then be careful with freeze. Freeze it's needed and it's very good because it will make like normally if you need this for the bounce, it means that you will not be gaining drive that turn, and it means you want it bound because you are going to use the Nadir before riding. Okay, if you ride mask first, then you are using the mask skill to call the bound target. Usually, the only situation where that's not true if you want to add the order to your hand, but like there's a lot of situations where this is covered just by using the cow. So usually the reason you are using this it's because you want the actual bounce target, okay? And this usually means you're using the Alchemagic on your Nadir, okay? So in the situations you want to bind that, and that's fine. However, there is one loose condition that it's binding this if you don't have a way to put the Nadir back into your hand. You don't have to Nadir every turn, like sometimes if you have the 2 boosters, like this deck rewards a lot knowing how to PG well and how to Persona ride well and how to use the Nadir well, okay? If you see next turn you don't have the Nadir, maybe that turn it's a good turn to keep the PGs in your hand because you have less green options, okay? Maybe you want to save the PGs for later where they matter more, on when you can more comfortably recur them, okay? So if you play it well, you will be able to keep the Nadirs for 1 extra turn, just Persona ride, because you kept the things in your hand and you have an easier time recovering because you wasted less last turn. What was I talking about? I forgot something. Well, anyway, some of the games, like, it will happen to you that you don't have a Nadir for the next turn, and that's okay. Maybe next turn it's just a normal Persona ride with Masques turn, and that's okay. However, sometimes you will see that you have to mask, keep the freezing drop to bind it with the Masques Alchemagic because you want to recur the Nadir from your soul, because it's the only copy. When that happens, if you bound the freeze because no reasons, you might lose just because of that, so just be careful with that. And as for the trigger lineup, it's just the same, but because it's masks now, you have to play that, okay? You have to play that. The red OT, it's bad with Zorga masks because there's a lot of situations where you just go crit first and there is nothing to stand. And that's basically it. If you really want, if you're interested in the combos and you want to make a video about how to combine the orders, like just talk about it, about just start talking about combos, or maybe talk about, I don't think it cares too much about what you have in front of you, not on the orders. Anyway, but if you want to see more of these and more explanations or more detail, just let me know because I will make a video. And that being said, stay safe, have fun, see you soon, and let's Zorg. Bye bye!